We are Maria
and Nicole. We're two secular homeschooling moms that have
been there, done that. Spark your children's curiosity and imagination by creating an environment with hands-on exploration in your homeschool. Today on episode 30, we're going to be discussing igniting a love and wonder for STEM. We'll also be sharing some of our favorite early elementary experiments that create young critical thinkers.
And as usual, we want to stress that our podcast is an inclusive space for your everyday parents that are looking for education options. We are not here to convince you to homeschool. We want to stress that you need to do what works for your child and for your family.
Every family is different.
Absolutely. And you know your children best. So feel free to take what advice or information you get from here that works for you and chuck the rest.
Good morning, Nicole. How are you today?
Good morning.
I've missed you.
Yeah.
You've been traveling so much. And then you worked the elections this morning. You just go.
I'm very frazzled. I have to tell you, I don't know why I've crammed like all of these different projects and everything in this like 2-week period where I literally got off a plane yesterday. I'm getting on a train tomorrow.
I'm so glad you're here to record because I don't know what we would do.
I know we needed to like throw it in. But so I'm doing this project for another group. And one of the ladies called me while I was out of town this weekend, and I answered the phone and I was asleep. And I had this whole conversation about this project I'm doing, and I don't remember any of it.
What? Remember the conversation?
No, not at all. I was like half asleep. I shouldn't have answered the phone. I should have let her leave a voicemail. What do I do? I've never even done that. Like, I don't even know.
What's it for? What project?
It's for a Model UN thing, but am I waiting for her to send me something? Am I supposed to get back with her? I have no idea.
What are you going to do? Call her and say, I don't remember.
I know.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. Like, maybe I wait until she's like, hey, did you ever do that? And then I'll be like, what again?
Can you remind me how we're moving forward on this project?
Oh my God, I feel like I'm so busy that my brain literally melted away.
We thought we were busy when the kids were little, but no.
Yeah, we're busier now.
It's getting busier. Well, we have this podcast that's taking a lot of time, but I've been sitting here working on the website, and you've been jet settings.
We're doing all the things, like literally all at the same time.
Oh, gosh. Well, we have a lot to cover today, talking about early elementary hands-on science,
which is your favorite topic.
I love this. I have STEM kids. They both loved to do experiments. It was actually one of my favorite things when they were little, is doing all of the projects. We basically just read and did science experiments.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, we did more than that. It was my favorite. And the acronym STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. We've actually been learning all of these subjects since our students were babies. So what is so special about STEM?
Well, traditionally, STEM takes those 4 pillars that you just mentioned, science, technology, engineering, and math, and it combines them into an interdisciplinary approach of curiosity and inquiry and hands-on problem and project-based learning.
When you begin formal education in your homeschool, you may approach each of these subjects individually. We often did math daily at a certain time, and then science a couple days a week, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but with STEM, you have this unique opportunity to combine these subjects and integrate them in a way that makes the skills more useful in everyday life.
Yes, this integration of STEM subjects can result in kids that are able to think differently by harnessing a powerful combination of knowledge, critical thinking skills, and drive to improve and excel.
Right. By incorporating STEM into our homeschool, we teach our kids to approach problems using scientific methods, and we help them learn analytical and information gathering skills. And these valuable skills can be applied to like all kinds of subjects and life situations, really.
STEM is hands-on, which makes it interesting and fun, and it can inspire students to be more innovative and creative and to want to invent and build things. My kids, both of them, wanted to be inventors since they were tiny. I think my oldest still does.
Oh, for sure. STEM also helps students develop critical thinking skills to solve real-world problems, and it inspires them to become lifelong learners, which we talk about that all the time,
right,
as being basically our ultimate homeschooling goal.
Right. Incorporating STEM skills in your homeschool can also help kids to become more competent, innovative, independent, and it also makes them more adaptable to technology as it improves and changes. And this is especially vital when it comes to future employment opportunities in a world that is constantly evolving. And it also makes them perfectly capable when it's time to make a repair on a household appliance. You bet I have my kids help right alongside me when there's a repair around the house to be done. I mean, as a single mom, I kind of have to have them. I can't hire a repair guy.
Yeah, for sure. While we were doing some research for this podcast episode, we came across some Bureau of Labor statistics, one of which was between 2017 and 2027, the number of STEM jobs will grow 13% compared to 9% for non-STEM jobs. The average median hourly wage for STEM jobs is $38.85 compared to median earnings for all other types of jobs in the U.S., which is $19.30.
Out of 100 STEM occupations, 93% of them had wages above the national average, and millions of STEM jobs go unfilled due to lack of qualified candidates. So it's a really important skill to have and to teach in our homeschool.
Sure. As homeschoolers, we have this opportunity where we can choose to focus our energies on building critical thinkers and prepping our kids for amazing opportunities and fulfilling careers down the line, as well as creating just creative and innovative global citizens. Like, our children really are the future.
Right, exactly. And so the first question would be, how do I ignite a love and a wonder for STEM in our homeschool? Like many things in your homeschool, you do not have to be an expert in all of these subjects in order to teach them. I would encourage you to learn right alongside your children. It's important to remember that your kids are watching you all the time. You're modeling behavior for them. And do you show a curiosity to try to find the answer and problem solve yourself? What do you do when you notice something like a door handle in your house that's loose? Are you proactive and go get a screwdriver and try to figure out what's wrong and fix it? And this is the kind of skill that you want your children to possess. Teach them to work through things and work with them problem solving. This is the kind of education that goes well beyond a worksheet. Sometimes I'm actually wrong and my children correct me, and that's actually a good thing. And you can also find all kinds of opportunities for outsourced classes, science museum workshops. We've done a few of those. Scripted curriculum, extracurricular clubs like scouts, engineering and robotics groups, and other activities in your community.
Yeah. Also consider other things that you're already doing every day that build STEM skills, like you were talking about fixing things in the house, but also like building and creating things with Legos and blocks, utilizing a budget, using iPads and phones and computers and other technology, playing video games or doing some kinds of virtual programming, visiting local science museums, fairs, shows, participating on a robotics team or competing in a future city competition. There's a lot of ways that you can incorporate STEM into your homeschool, and we're going to talk about a couple of them here.
Right, and the first would be reading. Read aloud to your children and teach them to appreciate good literature. I know we talk about this in every episode, but it is just too important not to mention.
Reading. Yeah,
it's so
we love
important. Right. The next thing would be to model a love of learning by reading yourself. We should always be willing to expand on horizons and keep on learning. This is a great and important way to be constantly learning and illustrate to your children this importance.
Another way is that you can explore in nature. You could have a pet or an ecosystem. We loved things like ant farms and butterfly habitats. Reptiles and fish are really great ways to incorporate STEM.
Right. You could also grow things. We have a garden. You could do that, grow small plants. You could also grow insects to feed for those reptiles. We talked about that in a previous episode.
We did.
We had a little praying mantis.
Yeah.
The little
and we had a little mealworm farm for lizards. So, oh boy. Also, experiment. Get a generic experiment book. Keep science kit supplies on hand. Things like magnifying glasses and guidebooks are handy. We're going to get into some specific experiments a little later in this episode.
Yeah, you can also collect things and keep a collection of things that interest you. Nature items like rocks, bones, teeth, or maybe toys like Legos and Transformers. We talked about at the zoo, they have the trading program where you can find things in nature and go in and barter system.
It was a lot of fun. Visit places, explore museums and zoos and nature centers. Our kids both enjoyed homeschool classes at the Herd Nature Museum. We enjoy historical sites. We had our Adventure Kids Club, Magic School Bus Science Club, where we taught and put together things just a few families. Do field trips to warehouses and labs and factories. Really learn how things are made.
Right. And that actually was one of our favorite shows when my kids were growing up, was How It's Made.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have. We had a video set of those.
I love them. Also, building, construction, and engineering projects have building toys available for free play. A great set of blocks. We love Kappa planks. There's also, of course, Legos, and having tools and magnets and trains. Those are all wonderful inspiration. We love Lego We Do, which is kind of a combination of programming with physics. And we also recommend using real tools and woodworking and other building methods. When my kids were a little older, they learned to solder, but when they were a little too young for that, and after snap circuits, which sometimes toddlers and preschoolers will use, sometimes at early elementary, a good middle ground would be breadboards. And it's kind of a step between soldering and snap circuits. We love doing breadboards.
Oh, we did too. We totally did. Lastly, reference materials and resources. Keep a shelf of books in your house that your kids can page through or look things up in. They don't always have to, ask you and you have the answer at the ready. Have that stuff available and encourage them to research and look things up themselves. So just a reminder that this is a weekly episode. We drop one every Thursday morning just for you. And if you have any additional ideas or comments, please come and comment on our Facebook page, on the episode thread, or send us an email at info@btdthomeschool.com. We'd really love to hear from you.
We really would. We've been getting some great feedback, so keep it coming.
So moving along, what are our favorite experiments for early elementary age students?
Well, hands-on experiments are one of the greatest ways for kids to learn in a fun and exciting manner. And let's face it, the best experiments are the ones that are going to be big, loud, and messy.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you don't want to destroy your house, you can do this in your driveway or a park. And there's a lot of great experiments you can also do in your kitchen. The early elementary experiments were some of my favorite times as a homeschool mom, as I mentioned, but I know that everybody's not going to feel like that. And rest assured that if you don't want to undertake this yourself, there are always cool opportunities out there in your community. Maybe you have a science friend, or you could find a science camp. There's a lot of great videos online, and you can find free YouTubes. We'll link some in the show notes.
Yeah. We just actually got out a couple old experiment books that I bought, never used with my older kids, that I agonized over having skipped, only to show them to my youngest. And as we're going through all of these, she's like, oh, I did that at Dr. Reed's. Oh, I did that at Dr. Reed's.
Oh, we love Dr.
Dr. Reed.
Reed.
Dr. Reed's. Yeah. So I was, oh my gosh, this was great. She's already done all these really cool ones. And so hopefully my older ones did too.
Yeah. And Dr. Reed is a professor here in town. He teaches at the local community college, and he's also a homeschool dad, and he teaches our kids science, and we love him.
He's awesome.
So here are 18 ideas for activities or experiments for kids. The first would be disassembling toys. People often wonder when they should start introducing these projects, and like Nicole said, kids are doing them from the time that they are babies. My kids were a little more ambitious. When Riley was about 18 months old, she had a strong desire to figure things out. She had one of those little Tykes preschool pianos, and she was so little, and she just had to know how it was making the sound whenever she pushed the key. And I could have said, that's just the way it is, and moved on. But we turned it over and we found some teeny tiny screws. And so at the ripe old age of 18 months, we took that thing apart. And over time, we took apart electronics and more. We would pick up old items at garage sales or the thrift store, or even on the side of the road for bulk trash day. That's really a great way to let kids take things apart. It's really cheap, and she learns so much, and we didn't even have to buy a curriculum for her to learn.
Yeah, my friend's son always loved to take apart, especially like electronics and things with simple motors like vacuum cleaners and, old lawnmowers and all of that. And like he was the one I finally gave, how everybody's got like a big box of cords and keyboards and like old things when we were moving. Finally, I was like, do you think Miles would like this? And my friend was like, oh, yes, he would. And so I just gave him the whole box.
Oh my gosh, there were so many years that we just explored all of those things.
Yeah, it's awesome. Another thing is dry ice. This is one of my favorite things that my kids love, that when I bring home. And there's so many things you can do with dry ice as far as experiments go. You can get it at the grocery store. I buy a block for my spooky Halloween party punch, and it gives us like several days of fun just doing other things with it.
Right. And of course, you're going to want to take precautions and wear gloves. but you can blow up a balloon and you can make a bubbly volcano. You can magically put out a candle, or you can even set a piece of it on a metal spoon and it magically makes music. It's so fun. So there's so many more experiments we can link in our show notes.
Yeah.
The next thing you could do is rockets. We were part of DARS, which is the Dallas Area Rocket Society, for years. And even when the kids were really, really young, they would build these rockets. You can build or buy Stomp Air rockets, or build your own kit rockets with electric motors and chemical launching technology and just launch them. And some cities have restrictions on where you can launch these rockets, so you may want to check to see if your city has any restrictions. And one of our favorite books that is out of print right now inspired our love for rockets, called The Magic Rocket, where this rocket magically grows and saves a boy's dog who is abducted by aliens. I love that book so much.
Oh,
it's
I've
right
never
here on my
read
bookshelf.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
I might have to borrow it and take it home. Make Jillian read it. She probably has already read it at Dr. Reed's. Another thing is making volcanoes. And I think we talked about volcano birthday parties in a couple of different
both
episodes.
had one, right?
I know, I think so. Like I remember that you've talked about it a couple times on different episodes, but I very specifically remember one in my backyard. So I don't know if we built it for a birthday party or if we just built it for fun. But I mean, what kid does not love mixing baking soda and vinegar and a little red food coloring and making explosions?
Right, exactly. Well, we would do this just in a cup sometimes, but we also had this really cool volcano kit, and I think we even made a paper mache volcano once.
Yeah, I even had like a little plastic, like I just got rid of it recently. It was called like a pocket volcano.
Oh, I had the same one.
Isn't it so funny? Like, why would we need pocket volcanoes? But clearly everybody does.
Every homeschooler.
You know what? We're going to link to a pocket volcano in the show notes.
There's also the tried and true Mentos and Diet Coke.
Oh, yeah.
This is an oldie but a goodie. And definitely do this one outside.
Oh, yeah.
And we did this. We had a really cool geyser tube. We picked up it for a couple of dollars, and it made it go so much higher than the bottle of Diet
really?
Coke. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's super cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
I still have some. That's when I talked about putting together like a science basket that I have a pack of Mentos up in the closet.
You need to hide them from the littles because you need to supervise that one.
Yes, you do. And yeah, and you definitely don't want that happening in your kitchen. Different kinds of color changing experiments. We've done the one with Skittles and coffee filters, or putting real porous plants like celery or carnations in colored water, and then it absorbs the colors. Layering oils and waters with different kinds of food coloring. Kids love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we did the white carnation with the food coloring, and I have pictures of that. I need to have that on the website when my kids were little. That was a lot of fun. You could also make elephant toothpaste, and this is a fun experiment that comes from mixing hydrogen peroxide, dish soap, and yeast, and you get this big reaction. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can find a lot of videos on that one too, if you don't want to do that one yourself. Kids love to see it, but it is a fun one. Rube Goldberg type machines. These are chain reaction type things that combine pulleys and cranks, or you might set up different household items to, make little slides and chutes and all of that. They're just really cool. Everybody's probably seen that guy that makes the whole obstacle course for his squirrels in the backyard.
Yes,
have you seen
so
him?
cute.
Like,
yes.
That reminds me kind of. It's not the same idea, but something different. It's really neat. Along with that, there's, you can do those dominoes, setting up dominoes and letting them fall, or the craft stick explosion. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're kind of the same. You could also do an obstacle course yourself, or you have a dog, teach them to do an agility. Of course, my kids always wanted to train the dog to do that, like on the Westminster Dog Show.
Oh. Your dog could do that.
Yeah.
So smart.
He's very smart. I don't know. What if he's just eating Mentos while he does it and shooting around the yard? Number 10 is mixing cornstarch and water. That was one of my kids' favorite things to do. You can pour it, but then you can pick it up. Like it's
called a non-Newtonian fluid.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, we learned that word very early. The kids were like, where's my non-Newtonian fluid?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
This was a favorite of ours. I need to post the video of when we took it to one step beyond. I went to the thrift store and I bought this cheap stereo speaker. I took off the front of the speaker and I hooked it to our stereo in our house, and I put out this drop cloth and I put the cornstarch mixture on top of the speaker and I turned up the bass.
What? that?
And you wouldn't believe the sound waves actually make it dance, and it just
What?
jumps. Yeah, it's
Oh my gosh,
crazy.
do you have video of
I do
that?
have a video, and I'm going to post it. I'm going to find it. I think it's on my
Yeah.
personal YouTube. I'll have to figure out how to extract that and
Oh
put
my
it on.
gosh, I totally need to see that.
Oh yeah, it's super cool. My kids say that it's one of their favorite things that they did in homeschool when they were younger. They remember it. And Cameron, I think he was only maybe 4 when we did that, but he remembers.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah. When it's happening, the sound waves, it becomes a liquid on top of it, but then the sound waves push it up just enough that it bounces. It's
Oh my
super
gosh,
cool.
I bet that is super cool.
Yeah.
We never did that one. So there's also tons of things you can do with like sugar cubes. You can build, had a whole pyramid building thing, but then you also wet them and then they become kind of melty into different forms. Also eggs. There's a million experiments that you can do with eggs. We loved the one where you soak one egg in vinegar and you soak the other egg in corn syrup, and it teaches you about cell meiosis or mitosis. You can also do the popular school experiment that you can do at home, is the one where you're making a safety kind of harnesses to drop an egg from high place without breaking it.
Yeah,
did you ever do those?
We did that with toothpicks. Yeah, I was going to mention that with toothpick bridges, which are the next thing. It's a fun physics project to test the strength of various structures. You can also build other structures like we talked about with the egg. You can create a different triangular formation, which shows the strength of the structure. And the kids would build this around the egg and then drop it and see if it would.
That's
yeah.
super cool.
Yeah,
That's super
so
cool.
See if it would break or not. And this is more for older students, but it was still a fun project that we love to do.
Can I tell you a funny story real quick, though,
course.
that our kids had to do the toothpick bridge for physics, or for some class with Dr. Reed, probably physical science. And my kids, of course, did not tell me until the night before. They just came rummaging through my kitchen and they're like, where's the toothpicks? And I was like, well, I don't, like, how many do you need? And they're like, oh, 250, which I did not have. So we had to go out, and the only close store that was like open was Whole Foods. So I had to buy these like $8 organic mint, like bamboo wood toothpicks. So I was like, you make sure Dr. Reed knows these are very expensive toothpicks and that you need a good grade on this project.
That's funny. We need to remind him about that.
I know.
That's funny. You can also make your own lava lamp with food coloring and Alka-Seltzer. That was a fun hit because they would go up and then down, and the bubbles would pop and then it would go back down.
I love to look at a lava lamp. Slime was all the rage in my house for many, many years. My daughter was the foremost expert on what different kinds of chemicals you need to create all kinds of different slimes.
Didn't you talk about snow slime on our holiday episode?
Oh yeah, there's something special we had to buy to make snow slime.
snow.
And yeah, we also made gold slime for an Irish leprechaun thing. There's cloud slime. There's all these different, I don't even know all the categories of
Emmy
slimes.
was really into that for years too.
Oh yeah, everybody loves some slime.
You can also grow your own mold. We've done this on bread, or also testing bacteria levels of everyday objects in a petri dish. We've also grew crystals from this really cool crystal kit. It almost looks like it comes out of nowhere. Like this cardboard tree turns into crystals.
I forgot about
So
those.
pretty.
Those are super fun. You can also sprout beans or grow plants from other things. We did this with our Adventure Kids Club. I think I assigned each kid a different kind of fruit or vegetable that you can grow from other fruit and vegetable parts. You can grow from a potato. You can grow the eyes. You can grow an avocado from an avocado seed. Pineapples, celery, lettuce, onions, pretty much anything with seeds you can either sprout or you can grow from.
Magic when the kids see those grow.
It really is cool. It's a reminder for us, like, why are we buying all this lettuce?
Right.
We can keep growing it in the kitchen, in the window.
That's true. Balloons are so much fun for all kinds of experiments, from blowing them up with chemical reactions to shaping them and more. There's a lot you can do with that.
Yeah. I'm going to link in our show notes to a couple Steve Spangler books. I don't know.
Those are awesome.
They're really cool. We found them at a museum years ago. He's got a couple fire bubbles and exploding toothpaste and naked eggs and flying potatoes, and they're really fun photos. They're just great books. Another book that we used in one of our curriculums was Janice Van Cleve's 201 Awesome, Magical, Bizarre, and Incredible Experiments.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and she actually has a whole series of science books. We've used a lot of her stuff. She's got a A+ Science Fair projects book, which some people like to do that with a homeschool group, is put together a science fair you may have done growing up in school. And then, of course, Magic School Bus.
Oh, yeah.
We loved that show and the books and the videos, everything, right?
Well, and a lot of the books actually have experiments in there. You read about whatever they're doing, wherever they're adventuring to, and then you can actually do an experiment at home that kind of brings that all together.
Right. Jillian was Miss Frizzle for Halloween this year.
Oh, she looks so cute in that dress.
She was adorable.
And be sure to visit our website. Our show notes for this episode is going to include all of the links, resources, and everything that we're talking about. So be sure to check that out. I also created some really awesome freebies for this week to go along with this episode. One of them is the Celestial Hike activity. It teaches your child to gain an appreciation of the vastness of our solar system and the distances between planets. It walks you through a scale model of the solar system, and it's so cool. And we loved to do that when they were little. And I actually put pictures of when we did the activity. It's before I created the printables. But you can download that for free. And I also created some other things, including scientist posters with an open-ended activity where you can choose a scientist to study and research and do more. It kind of promotes the research skills that your child will need as they get older, and different activities like creating a comic strip, writing a paper, doing a presentation or an experiment based on what the findings were from that scientist. So be sure to check those out. I hope you like them.
So how do you create young critical thinkers?
First, let's talk about logical and critical thinking. Logical thinking and critical thinking are very similar. Logical thinking can be defined as the act of analyzing a situation and then formatting a reasonable and a sensible solution or a conclusion.
Right. While critical thinking tends to be a little bit more subjective. Critical thinking is the ability to evaluate information while also being aware of biases and assumptions. So critical thinkers should be more open-minded. They should be able to consider different perspectives and points of view, and they should also be skeptical.
And probably all of us have similar goals in that our children should be able to think and act independently, and reasoning skills are a big part of that. We want our kids to make good decisions, pick great friends, do their schoolwork, and make good decisions as a whole. And all of these require great logic and critical thinking skills.
And the more we practice the skills, the more they become natural. Including thinking skills in everyday homeschooling is great to do. These specific tasks can elevate kids from just memorizing or remembering something to working with information by applying and analyzing and coming up with creative solutions. Some people think that critical thinking skills are only applicable to subjects like science and math, but really these skills are vital for success in all subject areas and also everyday life as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can't stress enough how essential it is that children have hands-on opportunities for this to happen. So many times I've had people ask me why my daughter likes to take apart her engine and put it back together, or how my 10-year-old 3D printed a chassis, built and programmed a combat robot to battle with grown men. And I can assure you the idea of creating and building something started when they were toddlers, when my kids were naturally curious and voiced that curiosity. And those moments are opportunities. And children are going to remember and apply what they learn when their natural curiosity is ignited. And I urge you to get up and share these moments and learning opportunities with your children. They are not always convenient, and we are often busy. We're cooking dinner, we're having a conversation with our partner, or we're just plain tired. Learning doesn't stop when we close the school books. Young elementary age is the perfect time to run with these moments. I promise they're not always going to be so forthcoming with their curiosity when they're older, so foster it and cherish it because they do grow up, and these moments and how you responded to their curious questions will stay with them.
Yeah, take the opportunity when you have it and run with it.
Right, and be there with them, hands-on, working through problems with them. They have to see you of this mindset. And honestly, as a single mom, some of this was financial restriction. For example, when my son was 9 years old, he asked for a ramp for his skateboard, and I couldn't afford a ramp at the store. So I got up and we went into the garage and we found some scrap wood and we started to design one together. And I can tell you it was messy and we made a lot of mistakes, but every time that happened, he learned how to do it better. And when you show an interest in something like this, your children are going to also, especially at a young age. They also remember when I redid my daughter's room and she wanted a desk and I couldn't afford a new desk. And I found one on the side of the road and it was in pieces and we brought it home. We cut down the pieces and we made her and reconfigured a new desk.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. You always are able to do some really cool stuff like that. I can see why that would inspire them to also do that. Like your crafts desk that I'm looking at behind me. That is so awesome.
You posted it on Facebook
I did.
and
It's
Instagram.
super
Thank
cool.
you for that.
So critical thinking also encourages students to connect the dots between concepts, solve problems, think creatively, and apply knowledge in new ways.
Right. And why don't you go ahead and list some of the critical thinking exercises that we can do with them?
So the first one would be brainstorming. Brainstorming is a great critical thinking exercise, especially when paired with visual elements. So get yourself a big whiteboard or bulletin board and ask kids to help you make a list or ideas for a topic. This is also a great group activity, which, speaking of, search out and host some group activities. Group projects and discussions are a great way to encourage critical thinking, and cooperative learning not only exposes students to the thought processes of others, but it exposes other viewpoints and it expands their thinking and worldview by demonstrating that there may be multiple ways to approach a problem. And you can do this through things like book clubs or engineering groups, board game days, video gaming, just casual time at the park even.
Right. Yeah. And if you don't have access to groups or events like that, you can still assist your child in incorporating different points of view. And some critical thinking exercises involve exploring a concept from multiple perspectives. And this tactic establishes that an idea should be assessed from different points of view before an opinion is formed. And it also gives students a chance to share their own viewpoints while acknowledging others.
You also want to encourage question asking, and you ask questions yourself. Like asking questions, especially open-ended or, non-yes or no questions, gives kids a chance to learn and apply what they previously learned. It gives them an opportunity to problem solve and kind of voice some of that learning out loud back to you.
And you should also encourage decision making. Allowing students to make their own decisions enables them to apply what they've learned to different situations. They weigh the pros and the cons of a variety of solutions, and then they decide which ideas work best before deciding which way to go with an idea or a solution to the problem.
Sure. Encourage connecting different ideas. Connecting different ideas is key to teaching critical thinking. You can ask questions that help kids consider different situations, potential solutions, and then that can help them apply that prior knowledge to new concepts.
Another thing you really want to do is inspire creativity, and I can't stress this enough. Imagination is the key to so much. We should encourage our kids to seek out new ways for them to use information to create new ideas. And they can also invent things, do art projects, build, write a story or a poem, create a game, etc. And there are so many ways that you can do this and incorporate it into your homeschool.
I love that. Well, hopefully we've given you some great tips and ideas to spark your children's curiosity and creativity by creating an environment with hands-on exploration in your homeschool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so tune in next week for episode 31, Planning the Next School Year. When should I plan for the next school year? Do I have to teach all subjects? How do I organize my schoolroom?
I know a lot of people have been waiting on this one because I'm already in the planning process. So
I am not in the planning process, and this frankly stresses me out.
We do this every year.
I know we do.
And you're like, why are we planning already, Maria?
Why are we
and
doing
I'm like,
this so early? But yeah, everybody's ready for it. Everybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We need to show some pictures of our homeschool room too.
We will. This will inspire me to get ready, and it'll inspire you too.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Cheers. Be sure to check us out on our website at btdthomeschool.com, as in been there, done that, btdthomeschool.com. You can join our mailing list and get news and updates on future podcasts, and be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at the BTDT Been There, Done That Homeschool Podcast.